Good morning. This morning I wanted to share with you a little bit more about the story, or the one kernel of truth that's in the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus says, if a man compels you to go a mile with him, go two. And we remember that that was part of the Roman yoke that people had to observe, that they had to be willing to go what we call the second mile. It really means that we would do more than could be reasonably expected or required of us. And we talked about that a little bit once, and we're going to talk today about how when we do that, it causes others to go the second mile. If we're willing to do more than can be reasonably expected or required of us, it will help others to do the same. Roy Angel tells about an experience he had when he was a young man. He was working as the night clerk and the bookkeeper for the YMCA. And he didn't really like the position. He didn't like the work at all, but he was doing it. And one weekend, he wanted to go on a hunting trip with some of his friends. They were going to go hunt foxes or rabbits or something. And so he went to his boss and he asked him about it. His boss said, yeah, he'd cover for him so he could do that. So he went on the trip and he had a wonderful time. Spent most of the weekend, and he was dead tired when he came back for his afternoon shift. And as he came back, his boss said to him, well, why don't you lay down for a little while, and then after a little while I'll wake you up and you can finish your shift. And so Roy laid down, and he said he went to sleep. And he said it was the next thing he knew, it was the next morning. When he got up, there was a note there for him from his boss, and his boss said, hey, I came in the middle of when I was supposed to, and you were sleeping so hard, and I decided that I just work your shift for you. I didn't mind doing it. It was a pleasure for me to do it. I really like you a lot. I love you, actually, and I want you to know that I'm really caring for you. And when Roy read that note, he read it 4 or 5 times, and then he got down on his knees and he prayed, hey, God, please forgive me. I've been doing a crappy set of books. I haven't been doing what I should have been doing with my books. I've been half-hearted in what I'm doing. And he says, please forgive me. And he said from that moment on, you would find that they had the best set of books that there was in any part of that country. And why did it happen? It happened because his boss went the second mile. He did more than can be reasonably expected or required of him. And that caused Roy to be willing to do the same thing. And that's also true for us. If we're willing to do more than can be reasonably expected or required of us, it'll cause other people to do the same thing. And then, of course, we also recognize that if we're willing to do more than can be reasonably expected or required of us, it will lift life burdens. Life will get easy for us. Life has a lot of tenuousness in it, but if we're willing to go the second mile, do more than can be reasonably expected, we'll be surprised how that helps us get through life. The story is told about a man who was getting ready to go to work. He went into the closet, and there was his coat, and one of the buttons was hanging loose, and he needed to have it fixed because he had a special meeting. So he went out to his wife and he said, honey, my coat and the button's loose, and I wonder if you'd fix it. And she said, yeah, I'll fix it, but why don't you give it to me early? Why don't you, you knew this yesterday, and now you're bringing it to me now. And she had to quit the breakfast dishes so she could sew it. So she sewed it, and when she got it sewed, she threw it at him and said, here, next time make sure that you give it to me in a more timely manner. And with that, the man went off to work, and things didn't go well. But just suppose it was different than that. Suppose that this lady had learned the story that Jesus said, that we can do more than can be reasonably expected or required of us, and how that lifts life's burdens. And so in this case, when he says to you, here's your coat, she said, oh, thank you, I love to do things for you, and I'll do this. And so she does it, and she sings while she does it. And then when she brings it back to him, she lovingly gives it to him, and he goes his way. Well, later that week, she's short a little money because she's for groceries, and so she says something to him about it. He says, why, sure, and he reaches into his pocket and he gives her what she needs, and he gives her a little bit more because he says, you are always doing more than can be reasonably expected and required of you, and as a result of that, I want to bless you because I know that can help you. Those are pretty powerful stories. And then, of course, Jesus went farther than could be reasonably expected or required of him. He went to the cross. He went to the cross, and that was more than could be reasonably expected or required. The story is told about Oba Gondal. I'm not saying it right, but it's about Bavarian Alps where they have that passion play. Well, in a portion of that play, Jesus is carrying his cross, and he comes to a place, and the centurion and his mother's there, and the centurion says, set down your cross and go see your mom. So he goes over and sees his mom, and he talks to her, and then he comes back, and he tries to pick up the cross, but he can't pick it up because he's lost his strength. He doesn't have the strength. And the centurion sees a man there, and he said, you carry the cross. And it's a man by the name of Simon. And Simon says, hey, I don't want to do it. And so he comes over, and when he gets ready to pick up the cross, he looks into the eyes of Jesus. And he realizes Simon, whose son that needed to be healed, and Jesus had healed him. And he looked at the centurion, and he said, I won't only carry his cross, I'll go to his cross. I'll die on the cross for him if you'll let me. You see, if we're willing to do more than can be reasonably expected, we can be surprised at what happened. God did that for us, and we got to be willing to do that for others. I'm praying God will help you to do that today. God bless you.